Hey, welcome everybody, and a great big welcome to all of you to this episode of the Growth Focus podcast, where tech leaders come together to help others in tech to either build a successful business or a more successful career in tech. Now, today's guest I'm really pleased to have with me is Robert Choynowski, CEO of SeaGlass Technology, and he's going to be sharing his expertise and insights into growing a successful tech business and some other things as well. So make sure you stay to the end of that. So without further ado, Robert, why don't you introduce yourself and let us give us a very snippet story of where you came from and where you are today.
Sure. So first of all, Gary, thanks for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here. So I am the president, managing partner, and one of three founders of SeaGlass Technology. And I've always had that entrepreneurial bug in me. SeaGlass Technology isn't my first technology company. It's my third. The first one I started at a very young age. I was in my early 20s and I did very well until I had children and a young family, and I found myself working 120 hours a week and trying to raise a family. So exhaustion set in. The business was doing really well, and we just ended up selling it. After that, I was a little rudderless for a while and started a small residential alarm company for a few years, but it was something that I quickly got bored with and sold that and took the position as the vice president of operations and corporate engineering for a technology company in New York City. And I spent about 18 years there. And then started SeaGlass Technology back in 2017. So it's been a long journey. It's been a lot of fun. Looking back, I can't think of anything that I would really change. Technology as it evolved over the years was it was just a mind-bending business to be in.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And as you say, we tend to forget, we tend to put business into one bucket and then we put our personal lives into another bucket. But as
mm,
entrepreneurs and business owners, those two have to meet. They really have to meet, and we have to juggle those two constantly all the time. And as you said, when a young family comes along and now you've got different priorities, but you've still got to grow the business, you can't suddenly put one of them on hold and
right.
say, let me just deal with this. We've got to grow it.
It was a challenge and it continues to be a challenge, right? So there's always that balance and now with a lot of us working remote, it becomes even a little bit more challenging because it's hard to call it quits at the end of the day, especially when you're in the zone, and there's a lot of times you find yourself in the office at 8, 9 o'clock at night and you miss dinner,
Yeah.
so that's the bug, right? So you really have to understand what that balance is, and you have to get a hobby,
Yeah.
get something that's going to get you out of the office.
Yeah, absolutely. My father-in-law, he's always been in tech, and he built up his company and then sold it. But he used to. My wife's always said he used to. I mean, he still codes, by the way. He's 84 years old and he still codes. It's
Right.
just an amazing brain that he has. But yeah, she tells me stories of how he used to be cocooned into his office 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. Doesn't come out.
Mhm.
Goes into a rabbit hole. And I think entrepreneurship, when you're trying to build something, when you're trying to build a successful business, you can lose track of where you are, right? Because you're so
And
focused,
what's
so
around
passionate.
you? Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Robert, for those who may not know what Seaglass Technology does, do you want to explain to us what is it that your company does, and then the problem it solves, and the people that you actually serve?
Sure. So SeaGlass Technology is a managed IT and IT security service provider. We're based in New York City, right in the middle of Midtown Manhattan, and we support our niche clients are hedge funds, alternative investment firms, and we help them largely with IT security concerns, maintaining their IT infrastructure, as well as compliance, regulation and compliance. Right, they have a lot to be beholden to, and the auditors spend a lot of time, reviewing their due diligence a couple times a year.
Yeah.
So
So, what were the challenges you think that your ideal niche? What are the biggest challenges they're having that they're just not seeing, or that you're coming across all the time? And because you know it, you're in the industry, you know what they need to be doing, but a lot of the time, especially in
yeah.
security, they don't. They just don't get. They don't understand it.
Yeah, so it's I think largely it's not that they don't understand it. About a year ago, maybe even a little less, I actually did a survey to alternative investment firms just to find out what were the things that keep them up at night. there were two. One was we were always having business conversations, not necessarily technology conversations, but we wanted to see how maybe technology could solve some of their issues. And one of the biggest concerns was always making sure that they had returns for their clients. And then the other concern, if somebody's just having a bad day in the office and clicks on something they're not supposed to, that they become victim to like a social engineered attack. So it was always cybersecurity related, right? It was always what's going to happen internally, right? So they're doing everything that they can. So for us to solve that problem, I mean, there's employee training, but it really is about identifying anything, any kind of breach or any kind of an incident that occurs quickly, right? So, the average mean time to detection for a cyber breach is probably 6 to 12 months.
Mm.
We want to understand that there's something happened within an hour, so, and then we certainly want to make sure that we have a strategy or a mitigation plan to get everything under control so that it's least affecting them and their clients.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So you're hitting it quicker than, in general. And I suppose with everything that's changing so much, and I've talked to a lot of people in cybersecurity, and one thing comes up a lot now is the ever-changing face in tech with AI. And AI is becoming, again, a bigger and bigger threat in cybersecurity. Would you agree with that? And what do you think the challenges are?
1,000%. We were in a company planning meeting yesterday, and that's exactly one of the things that came up is, we understand that the bad actors are adopting the newer technology quicker than, the good guys are. So we're always living in a reactive world when it comes to what are they going to try next. AI certainly has changed, the landscape of the brute force that they're doing.
Yeah.
So,
And
it's a big deal for sure.
yeah, absolutely. And is it something that you have to do more education for your clients, or do you think or is it the fact that your clients now are more and more aware of it and now saying, "Hey, I probably need some more help on this"?
So, I think it's both, right? So, we definitely have to. Training is, it's an evergreen event that has to happen. It's not something that you train once and you stop. And your cybersecurity framework or hygiene is always evolving as well, right? So again, it's never a set it and forget it. It's always a monitor, and it's always trying to stay ahead of the curve. So it's both. It's not one or the other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's very it's moving so quickly. It's hard for most companies and most of your clients, I imagine, and prospects, to even consider trying to keep up. Hence the reason why people like yourselves are there, right, in your businesses.
Absolutely, right? So, we talk about training, and the term I've heard from some of our prospects and clients is training fatigue, right? So, and that's like folks are just so weary of, the training, and they just want to be able to do their jobs. At the end of the day, that's what they want to do. They want to be able to work. They want to be able to be productive. But they always have this lingering over them, whether it's training or some other social engineering event that's, just trying to capture credentials or make them have a bad day.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we offer, besides all of the software and tools and the monitoring is virtual leadership. It's a lot of times it's hard for their IT leaders to really be, the guy, right? So, the weight of the world on their shoulders. So, we might provide what some folks call a vCISO or virtual chief information security officer or a virtual chief information officer. So, our term for it is that we're going to help you with some virtual leadership. And it really is for us to, to do some assessments, help them with a roadmap, help them execute the roadmap, help them, again, it's not set it and forget it. It is, it's a continuous improvement model.
Yeah.
So it gives them the ability to leverage us and our experience. That's the other thing when you have a guy at the top or even a group of folks, sometimes they get a little stale. As hard as they're trying, they're still being very reactive to the user environment and the regulations and things that just come up, right? Everything from IT upgrades to cybersecurity events.
Yeah. And I think absolutely. And I love the idea that you're almost using this virtual leadership to be there to hold their hand, so that just that they'd be so busy doing their job, but when one thing goes wrong, the whole thing collapses on them, and they're the ones getting the blame, and they're the ones expected to fix it super quick.
Right, right. So you're right. The whole thing falls apart. It's a house of cards, right? Or could potentially be a house of cards. So ideally, what we're going to do is create a solid foundation, and then be there with them to be the structure. Right.
Yeah.
So they are still the leaders, but we're providing a role or just some resources that they may not have available to them.
I think it's fantastic.
In a leadership capacity, right down to a guy on site crawling under desks if that's what they need.
Yeah, yeah. Great. So I want to change tracks a little bit here and talk about growing a successful tech business today. And as I said, when we were speaking before, since COVID, although tech has actually grown as an industry over the last 3 years, 2 to 3, 4 years now, but since COVID, the tech industry has actually cocooned upon itself. It's talking to less people. It's not getting out there as much as it was before. And therefore, what I'd like to ask you is what challenges have, as a long-time entrepreneur, what kind of challenges recently has your company had to go through that you've managed to get through, and how did you do that? What was one of the biggest challenges?
So, when you're in growth mode, I think the hardest part for any small business is customer acquisition, right? So, traditional marketing is very expensive and the ROI is never guaranteed. And in our case, never worked, right? So, we found ourselves spending a lot of money with a lot of different consultants and marketing organizations that were just not getting the job done, right? So, and they partly, I think, because they were doing what everybody else was doing, right? They're saying these are the tried true techniques and this is what works until it doesn't, right? So, so we found ourselves in a place where we had to reinvent how we're communicating to our prospective clients and prospects. And that was really through education, right? So that's why this podcast came up, and I thought it was a great idea, because at the end of the day, what we really want to do are educate folks. I mean, we're in the business of helping people. So anytime I give a talk, I want to make sure that the folks in the audience, or the people that are spending their time listening to me talk, have some really solid takeaways that they can go back to the office and say, here's something we didn't think of. Let's implement this. They don't need me to do it. So it really is being at the events that our prospective clients are going to be at and educating them. And the byproduct of that is a few of them are going to be interested in having a meeting with you. They'll reach out to you, and then once you've done that enough, then the word of mouth just kind of does its own thing. So.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, the biggest challenges, I think, for growth for us that was really challenging to overcome was, the marketing and customer acquisition part.
Yeah. And I don't know if people caught that there, but you gave quite a number of little nuggets there, right? Just in that little phrase there. And the first one, obviously, is what didn't work was doing what everybody else is doing. If you can do what everyone else is doing, that's always been done, you just become a commodity. You're not changing anything. You're just really giving out information, which is, the world has got too much information. There's information overload. And what we really need is some kind of transition. That's what we're looking for as entrepreneurs, to get our clients, is to help them transition to where they want to go.
Right.
Which leads to the next nugget you gave, which was educational-based marketing. When you do educational-based marketing, you help them transition.
And we're not even thinking of it that way. Like we genuinely want to be a resource, right? So the byproduct is that it's called educational-based marketing, but we really just want to be, educators, right? We want to be able to help folks. That's that is just part of our culture at SeaGlass, is to be that resource.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's a great place to come from when you just, rather than say, I have a product or I have a service to sell and this is what it does, if you're taking it from a different point of view and saying, look, I know where you want to be and I want to help you get there. I know the challenges you're having and I want to help you get past those challenges, and come as a really, as you say, your virtual leadership. What a great resource that is. That is there to help them not just do their job, but help them in times of need. That helps them.
They'll learn something from it, right?
Yeah.
We can create new processes. We can, we create workflows. Things that we know that have worked, right? So it's never, for us, when we're onboarding a new client, it's not saying that we have this bucket of products, right? And that you now need to be onboarded to our our bucket of products. It really is about us understanding the technology they're using, that they may already have a significant investment in, making sure that they're leveraging it, right? So there's a lot of times when, this is a silly example because it's dating, right? But, somebody will go out and spend a ton of money on a new firewall, and they take it out of the box and they screw it into the rack and they plug it in, and they're like, okay, we got the best of the best, but nobody's really configured anything on that firewall, right? So that's a dumbed down example. But at the end of the day, it's good for us to go in and really take a look at what that configuration is, just to make sure they're using all of the feature sets that are available to them. So if what they're using currently isn't going to support them at the level that they'll require, then we'll make recommendations to swap it out. But it's not about us taking everybody and we have a big round hole and they're square pegs, so we're going to round them out and put them into our big round hole. It really is about, providing a solution around really what the best solution is for them. Right. So
Yeah.
it could be their technology, could be something else.
Yeah. I think certainly from conversations I've had over the last couple of months, there's this move now to understand, like you said, not just say, hey, here's my bucket, here's my product, here's my service, replace everything you have with this. This is the ideal answer. That's not the case now. That's making success. What's making success is, hey, what have you got? You're probably not using it to its best advantage. You're probably not, or if you are, you might not be using it correctly. Let us show you how you get the best out of this, and then you become that trusted partner as opposed to a service product provider.
So we don't ever want to be a vendor, right? We always want to be, a trusted advisor, a trusted partner. And you're right. That goes back to what you said about, they're using these products. Sometimes it's just a set it and forget it model. So, a piece of software, EDR, for instance, and you just install it and never look at it, never look at the logs, then it's probably not going to work for you. Right. So we have to create some policies and some processes around it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as a long-time entrepreneur in businesses, what would you say is needed in a mindset wise? Because obviously all business owners, entrepreneurs, whether they're brand new or they're 20 years in, we're talking about it's kind of a never-ending path. We keep thinking there's an end to this path as being an entrepreneur, but it is never ending. What kind of mindset do you think we need today, or people need today, to ensure that they are strong enough for that journey and that they can get to the end?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. There's no end, right? So it's because we're continually innovating, right? And that's what we are. We're, entrepreneurs, and we're innovating, and we're always thinking of the next best thing, right? So I believe and we talked about it a little bit earlier about, some kind of a work-life balance, right? So, it can't be all work and no play. And a lot of folks are going to argue that say, if you love what you do for a living, you'll never work a day in your life. But sometimes it's good to have more than one hobby, right? So be a little bit more diverse than just continually working. And then I think what that'll do is it'll provide some longevity to just your vision, right? So maybe it'll keep you in the game longer. Maybe it'll give you the ability to be a little bit more agile and pivot when you need to, because you can really look at things from the outside as opposed to always being in it. I think it's providing yourself with a little bit of diversity in your life, a little flavor.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. A little bit of flavor, adding a little bit more spice to it. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it's dangerous. It's almost dangerous to be cocooned in what you're doing all the time or almost sticking your head in the sand and saying, this is what I'm doing, all without even looking outside. And one of the things I have done when I built my businesses up and to sell my original business was to actually look outside of the industry and say, what are other industries doing that I could implement into my business, into my industry, to help that grow quicker, faster, better, whatever the case may be, rather than just trying to do the same old stuff over and over again, but bigger, better, faster, whatever.
Yeah, and it's always great to be surrounded by a great team and empowering those folks to make some decisions. One of the things that I have said for a long time is that I don't ever want to be the smartest guy in the room. If I ever walk into a meeting and I'm the smartest guy in the room, I'm going to go find another room, right? So, there's no learning if I'm the smartest guy in the room. So, so continuing your education and always, having an open mind and empowering the folks that you put in place to do some work. They're they're not going to be 100% successful, but neither were you as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are all important little tidbits for being successful.
Well, I want to touch on team now. You just brought that up, so I want to talk about it. I think, again, when you're running a business, it's your baby, you want it to be successful, and it is hard to let go of the reins. No matter what anyone says, you want to keep in control of it all the time. But that's where your burnout comes from. And as you said, when you have a great team that could share your vision and grow with you and grow the company for you as well as with you, that becomes important. So what can you share with regards to building a successful team?
So having a good culture, having a good set of core values, and when you're building your team, we hire based on our core values before technical ability and those. We want to make sure that everybody is going to be able to work together and is on board with, our organization's core values. So I think I mentioned earlier, I was in a meeting yesterday and we were talking about, AI. We talked about a lot of things, and our core values is something we probably spend 3 hours talking about and just reviewing them. We have a core value assessment tool that we use for folks that we're bringing on board. And it basically is, these are our core values. This is what the core value means. Are you a go? Are you a no-go? Or do you need improvement? Right? So, and if somebody has like 2 no-goes, they can't work for us. We're happy to mentor folks, if they need improvement and they want to learn more, happy to mentor them for sure, right? We wouldn't let good people go for that, but we will have a mentoring plan in place to make sure that we get them to go. Right.
Yeah.
So everybody in the organization has to be a go. And we really do those assessment tools quarterly with folks that are in the organization. Everybody has their direct reports, right? So I do it to my direct reports, but I also have folks assess me, right? So the way the core value assessment tool works is I'll ask you if you are a go, no go, or need help, but they will. So I'll ask them their opinion, but I'll also provide my opinion, and we'll see if we're on the same page. So it's easy after working with somebody for a while. So you get those 2 views. So interesting stuff for us.
Yeah,
So
it is. It is. I think
I'll
it's
answer
important.
your question. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you did. You often hear people say, oh, we all want to be rowing in the same direction. We want to be in the same boat together as a company, and we're all rowing together at the same beat and etc., rather than being out of sync. But you also have to have the same direction, the same destination. They could be rowing with you, but if they have no intention of going to where you want to go, then they don't need to be in that boat. They shouldn't be in that boat.
Yes, you're right. There's no need to, and they shouldn't be.
Yeah. So and it's about finding the time by doing these quarterly assessments. Somebody might have the attitude right at the very beginning. Yes, I'm with you, Robert. I definitely want to go there. But things change. Life changes sometimes, and they might be willing to row that boat, but maybe their vision of destination has changed, and that's when we need to change them, correct?
Correct. And we're happy to have those conversations. If somebody's vision changes, like, we're happy to work with them to get them to where they want to be, if we don't have a place for them, right, at that point. So, but, we're not going to abandon them, right? Well, we're happy to help them get to where they need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then it boils back down to, again, the team. Otherwise, you need to have that. A team's almost like the solid foundation, but it's also the glue. It's the glue that puts the company together so that the company can grow and prosper and get to the destination, which we decide is never going to be a destination. It's forever growing.
Forever growing, right? So and again, because we're innovators, right? There's always a new shiny object that we want to make shinier.
Yes, absolutely. And even if you're building a business to sell, get to a certain point and think, oh, that's it. I want to sell it from this. I want to sell it for this money. But then you think, oh, maybe I can improve on this and get a little bit more enterprise value. Maybe I should just change this and my value will go up a little bit more. See, there is this constant change as opposed to, I'm going to sell it for this amount of money at this amount of time. It doesn't never.
So, and one of the things that we do, we are very cognizant of, is that we do want to have a very saleable company, right? So, and we want to have always a good valuation in the event that we do decide to, to sell at some point. But we don't want to have to fix it later if we decide to sell. Right. But you're right. It's not the plan, right? The plan is not to sell. The plan is to have a very saleable company that other people want to buy. But it's not to sell.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
at some point, Right.
Yeah, at some point it gives you it's all about choices in life. It's about choices. If you have an asset, a valuable asset, and you can keep on increasing the value of that asset, your choices get bigger. You have more
Yes.
choices, you
Right.
know. But if you're not creating that asset, you're literally just then building a bigger job for yourself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. More
Yeah.
people. Right. It becomes a little bit bigger.
Yeah. So listen, I've got a
And
final
fun.
question for you. It's going to be a loaded question, Robert, as we come to the tail end. And it's been absolutely fascinating, chatting with you and you sharing insights with us. So it is a loaded question, and hopefully you can answer this as best as you can. But if there was one piece of advice that you have learned over your years as an entrepreneur in the industry, and someone's out here listening to this and saying, I'm at the beginning of my career as a business owner in tech, or, I'm in, but I don't know which direction I need to be going in. What one piece of advice would you share with these people about creating, building, running a successful tech company today?
So, this it might sound a little cliche, but understand that not everything's going to go your way all the time, right? So, and it generally is not whether or not you are going to have problems. It is how you deal with those issues that sets you apart, right? So it doesn't mean that you're not going to have, even though your goal and your objective maybe to have 100% customer satisfaction. The way you get there is if you have a customer that if you make a mistake, own it, right? Don't skirt through, it's not my fault, or if you did just own the mistake. It's not making the mistake. It is how you handle the issues that come up that really are going to set you apart. I think that's really important for somebody to understand.
That's a great piece of advice. Mistakes will happen. It's business.
Yeah.
It's never going to be that straight line. It's always going to be roadblocks, accidents. Things are going to happen. But as you said, owning up to it, and people are more going to respect you more if you do own up to it and go, "Hey, this has just happened. Flick my hand over it. But this is how we're going to fix it. This is what we're going to deal with it. This is how we're going to get this thing better and back on track."
Right. Right. And this is how it's never going to happen again. Right.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. And then you learn from it. And that's the key thing, isn't it? It's not just dealing with it; it's learning from it.
So, and I always said college is expensive, right? So, you could get hurt, right? So do the right thing 100% of the time, regardless of how bad it hurts, right? School is expensive. Education is expensive. It is just part of it.
I love that. Education's expensive, school's expensive. Learn from it each and every time. Well,
Right.
Robert, that's brought us to a brilliant end to this. How can people get hold of you if they want to get hold of you? What's the best way of getting hold of you?
Email robert@seaglasstechnology.com. If you want to do it the old fashioned way, you can pick up the phone. 212-886-0791 is my direct line, and I answer it when it rings. So because I am still a little old fashioned that way. And of course, they can always visit our website at SeaGlassTechnology.com.
Well, Robert, thank you very much for sharing your insights today and your experiences. We've got a brilliant few nuggets out of that today. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed this particular episode with Robert, make sure you do one of or all four things, which is to like, to comment, to share, and subscribe to find out more about how our tech leaders are sharing their insights and knowledge to help us all succeed within the tech industry. So without further ado, until next time, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Robert, for joining us. And
Thanks,
we
Rob.
shall speak to you on the next episode. Bye-bye. Stop in. Thank you very much, Robert.
Thank you. That was fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I love it. I just, as I said, I just love chatting, and some of the insights you gave, as I said, was some really nice nuggets, and people can actually benefit from that.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope there's an opportunity for somebody to learn something, right? So
Look, the way I
yeah.
look at things is that it's always, if they can pick up one nugget, they can't take everything in. The world is, as I said, it's got so much information now. It's information
Yeah.
overload. But if they can
Yeah.
take one little nugget from you, and say, right, this has worked. That can do for me.
Right. Agreed. That's it. A little bit at a time. You can't eat the elephant, right? That's, you take it in small bites.
Absolutely. So I'm just watching this as it all starts to upload. We're at 90% uploading now.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm seeing it as well. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I knew
you
that's
just
what we were waiting for.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We just want to make sure that
I do. I see it. Yeah. Yeah. I saw. No, I don't get a thumbs up. I do see it 99%. I did see it throughout while we were talking. It was at 70% at one point. So right. Yeah. It's recording from our machines directly and then uploading. Good. Like I said, hope it helped somebody. I'm happy you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. Thank you. Thanks for reaching out, and I'll introduce you to Jason this afternoon, and you guys can have a chat. He's again, he's got some pretty good stories. You'll enjoy talking to him, but I know he wants to know how to climb a mountain. Oh, that'd be great. Thank you. Sure. Yeah, I'm seeing that as well. Yeah, right. And we have, I have probably the best bandwidth I can have for where I'm at, and I am wired too. Restart again. Yeah, that's fine. But if you need me to do something, yep, okay. Yeah, could be. All right. If you need me to do something, yep, very good. Thank you. If you need me to do something, let me know. I'll log back in happily. And in the meantime, I'll fire off an email introducing you to Jason. And, if you, I don't know, I'm going to be out in Denver in a week, October 9th. I'm going to be flying out there. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. There's a few folks out there I could probably introduce you to as well that are, from the tech business that might be just good people to know. That's all. Absolutely. Will do. I'll send you my headshot. Thanks, Gary. You too. Take care. Bye.